Hello guys, gals, and NBs. I've been getting really into working in 2D lately. Let's continue down the road of particle movement. But today, we are going to focus on 2D particle movement, post-processing, and interactivity to make a 2D texture like this one. It's a lot of fun to play with. And there are some interesting techniques in here. But we all know you are here more for the vibes than the techniques. And this visual has some immaculate vibes. It reminds me of that shot in Blade Runner. This one. Let's get started. With an empty workspace. Let's start by dropping down an OP Viewer component. Under Layout, let's change the resolution to 1280 by 1280. Or whatever render resolution you want. Although, I suggest you make it square. Unless you want to do a lot of extra math. Let's double-click it to step inside. Let's start by putting down an Add SOP. Add points. Connected to a Convert SOP. Convert to particles per point. Connected to a geometry. Add a camera. And a constant material. Drag it to the geo. Drop down a render top. Let's split the screen and step outside of this container on the right side. Drag and drop this resolution to the render resolution. Set the render to 32-bit float. RGBA. Connect the render to an out top. Make sure that this OP viewer points to this out. Let's step inside of the container on this side. Click on the little arrow in the corner. And choose Panel. Now we are seeing this out top here on the right side. Let's set up our instancing network. Let's start by putting down a constant chop. Let's call it count to not confuse it with the resolution. I set mine to 1280, but you can set it lower if your computer is dropping frames. Let's drop down a ramp top. Drag and drop the resolution. 32-bit float RGBA. Copy and paste it. Set the second one to vertical. Connect it to a reorder. Second input green. Blue, 0. Let's connect it to a noise to offset the positions. Just a little bit. Type random. Offset 0. Amplitude 0.001. Monochrome off. Let's connect that to a null. And call it POS. Turn on instancing in the geo. Drag the POS to the translate op. Let's just use red and green today. In the camera, under view. Let's set it to orthographic. Ortho width 1. And origin bottom left. Let's drop down a null, and call it start. And another one that we call end. Put down a feedback after the start. Drag the end to the feedback. Let's drop down a noise top. And drag and drop the resolution. We only need 32-bit float R, G. Offset 0. Amplitude 1. Monochrome off. I'm just putting down a null here in the middle to keep track of things. Let's put down a remap. Let's plug the noise into the first input of the remap, and the null into the second input. Connect it to a math, and multiply it by 0.001. And let's add this to the main feedback loop. Let's use a keyboard in to reset the feedback. In turning the period down, feel free to play with this noise. But oh no, all my particles are leaving. So I'm going to add the life component that we made in our last video. If you haven't saved that component, you can find it on my Patreon. Or, you can watch my last video, starting at 5 minutes, to create that component. Just put it down right here. Drag the 1 key to reset it. Drop down a select top. And drag the start null to this select. Let's multiply the select with the output from the component. And put it over the feedback loop here. Make sure this one is on top. Press 1 to reset it. And we have life. Nice. Let's add some color here. Drop down a noise top. You know the dance by now. Drag and drop the resolution. 32-bit float. RGBA. Let's use a Perlin noise and increase the harmonics and period. Connect it to a null. And call it kernel. let's add this to the color on the seconds instancing tab. Don't forget the alpha channel. And enable blending in the constant material. In the noise, under output, let's change the alpha to noise. Neat. Let's move over to some post-processing. Let's connect the render to a feedback in a separate track. Connect it to a level. And let's connect it to an over. Make sure that the render is in the first input and the level to the second. Drag the over to the feedback. Drag the 1 key to reset the feedback. In the level, let's set the black level to 0.001 and brightness to 0.999. Let's move our noises a little bit. A constant chop. Plug it into a speed chop. And a null. Let's call the channels noise speed and color speed. Let's bring the first one into this noise to translate it in the Z direction. And the seconds channel to this noise. Let's just give it a small value, like 0.02. Let's add a little secret spice to this feedback loop. After the level, plug in a displace. Set the weight to 0.001. Plug in a slope top in a new track after the feedback. And plug it into the second input of the displace. We are getting really intense feedback explosions here. Let's fix that. Let's start by setting the blending mode in the material to maximum instead of additive. Still some explosions. We can clap this limit. But that's a little bit boring. because we want to use the exploding property of this feedback system later, but in a more controlled way. Set the level to unclamp. So I'm just gonna bring this amplitude down a touch. So we down go into extremes. Let's set the slope strength to 2. And sample step to 2. Do you see those nice smoky trails? Neat, huh? I'm gonna take a coffee break here. You should too. Okay, let's add that incinerator flame we had in the beginning. Drop down a ramp top under the color noise. Set it to circular. Set the extend mode to 0. Drag the resolution. (32-bit float). Now, let's bring in a panel chop. Let's select left. Inside U, and inside V. For some reason, the select left isn't picking up my clicks. If it's working for you, keep it. Let's remove this. I'm just going to drop down a mouse and chop. And select the left clicker. Now I have a 0 and 1 for clicks. Let's connect the panel to a math and offset the to range by -0.5. A null. And let's drag this value to the position of the ramp. Make sure the extend mode is set to 0. I color my ramp like this. White on the left side. Add a seconds node with a sharp fall off and reduce the alpha to 0. Let's add that to the noise. Now we have something like this. Let's plug in our math. And set our clicker to the multiply. So, it's only active with a mouse push. Play around with this ramp, and get creative with the colors. I like to make my first node very small and have a value over 1. Like 1.2. To really get that incinerating quality. Nice. Let's multiply the noise with another circular ramp. Like this. Nice. This is fun to play with. This part is optional, but I also want some noise movement around the clicking area. So, let's copy-paste this ramp and bring it over to the vector noise. Let's shape it like this. Copy-paste this math for clicker activation. Connect it to a noise top. Monochrome off. Offset 0. And shape it like this. Under Output, Input times Noise. And make sure the alpha is set to input. Let's bring that in over our original noise vectors. So it's in the first input. Now there's some extra movement there. This is cool. Let's add some colors here. A look up top. And a ramp. I'm using the Color Lovers Picker component. Link in description. But you can make your own ramp. Make sure you deactivate this component from the panel. Plug that into the second input. And we have color. But let's express those values again by multiplying this with the original monochrome image. Now this is fun. There's nothing fancy to the circle. I'm just multiplying it with a circle to mask it. And blammo. You can add a lag to the clicker. Go nuts and have fun with it. Thanks for watching. Cheers.